GM. I am your host, Retta Lark. We're at the Red Lark Pulse today, and we've got our very first special guest on the live stream, Mr. Brayden Pierce. You're one of your favorite artists and musicians with Music on the Moon and founder of Soundromeda.
True. What's up, everybody?
He's here to open up with a song of his. Tell us more about it, Brayden.
Yeah, sure. This is a song I wrote years ago. I released it with my old band Kingdoms. We dropped it in January 2020, right before the pandemic, and it did really well. We got like millions of plays. I think 3 million or more in total. 1,000 remixes. We released an NFT collection. It's sold out. Got more volume than Snoop Dogg. Hey man, that's a big mark for us. So, but the band shortly after kind of folded, and it really opened up a whole new world for me because I decided to put myself aside as an artist to support a new reality for all music artists. And I think we're going to dive into more of that as we go, and so you can really understand the issue at large for music artists and how we're going about to fix that. So, yeah.
All right, Brayden, let's hear some senses.
All right, all right. The song's called Senses. All I've traded the worlds I created for you. While I'm waiting the torch to carry for you. Sure have hated how long it's taken to bloom. You can't keep bearing the burdens buried under you. Gracefully, I tell myself that there's a dose that we both can handle that will keep us on this level, on the rise. When it all goes dark, when we lose our senses, when it all goes dark, when we lose our senses, lose our senses, yeah, senses, yeah. Oh, baby, we lose our senses, yeah. Oh, lose our senses, lose ourselves. Oh. Baby, when we lose ourselves. Oh, when we lose ourselves. Oh. Thank you.
I'm clapping.
Yeah.
It's such a pleasure to have you
Thanks.
today. So, Brayden,
Yeah.
let's talk about you and how you're meeting Sol and Sui today.
Yeah.
Soundromeda. So
Yes.
it turns songs into immersive audio reactive worlds
Mm-hmm.
designed by Unreal Engine and AI. So,
True.
what was the core inspiration behind combining music discovery with epic game design, and how does this approach differ from traditional music platforms?
It's a really good question. I mean, for years leading up to it, as an artist, the whole approach came from me as an artist, and really wanting more for my music, and there being a lack of options out there. I mean, because when you release a song, you typically do what? You make cool art. You maybe shoot a music video. But I was also always really fascinated with the audio reactive videos on YouTube, and I had trouble really trying to make my own. Like I was messing around with Adobe After Effects, and I just find it kind of like I just find myself wanting more for music, and then in 2021 I had this idea that I wanted to create like a Marvel universe for my music, and you know, kind of like touch on every song is like a little story. It's like a little, as an artist, you kind of ensconce yourself in this moment and dive into this narrative and world. And you know, as a song, you kind of just, as a listener, you kind of just like bop in there and bop out. But like, what if you could just go deeper with it, right? And so I wanted to really Soundromeda really started off as like a comic book series that I would like collab with other artists. And then in one conversation, it turned from like, well, maybe we could make them like interactive worlds, and maybe we could have like NFTs and like on chain. Each artist could have their own token and blah 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 blah. And I was just like, and me and the other person on the phone were like, oh shit. This was like August 2021, and and my life was at a big crossroads at that era. I was like, you know, fighting my own self as like as an aging artist, and knowing all the things that I've done in my life, like my background in experiential marketing, having worked with like Activision, Microsoft, Android, and a lot of liquor portfolio brands, left that world for my music, and then found crypto, and really like that kind of took over my life since 2017. So it's like all of a sudden all these full circle moments, putting it all together and realizing, everything really does happen for a reason. If you're truly there to, listen and act on the things that are happening in your life. To me, that was one of those moments, and I dropped everything and focused 100% on developing Soundromeda, and it's required all of myself, and it's yeah, it's I wouldn't change it for the world.
Like that song. Oh,
Yeah.
he knows it well. So, that being said, a little bird told
A
me
little bird.
yeah,
A little birdie.
that you're doing a token raise with a platform called Indie.Fun on Solana, actually. So, can you tell me a little bit about that platform and the benefit it offers for founders like yourself with actual real utility to offer?
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's a really cool thing. My VP of game design, Gabe, who's awesome. He went to GDC, and he was just like a magnet, just finding all really great people to talk to. And he met a rep from Indie.Fun and told him about what's going on there. And naturally, my instinct was a bit like skeptical, because I'm like, well, we don't need another pumped on fun, but how is this better? And
Right.
so their whole approach was is that they really vet projects, and you have to be a legitimate project to some degree at least. And so you know it when you're a project like what we're doing, um, you really have to maximize the probability for success, because if I'm not going to go around and dropping, I'm not going to go around and drop Sandromeda's token on Pump.Fun. That's a tall order. But in a project that is much more you know they handpick, cherry pick projects. To me, there's a lot that we can do with that. So I like Solana. It's a great blockchain. I mean, I've always really appreciated how cheap and fast, and the monolith structure of their settlement is just really badass. And it's a little unfortunate how I think the meme coins have really kind of dirtied their sort of like brand, so to speak. I think there needs to be like a bit of a landfill, kind of like it's like street cleaning. You have to street sweep Solana a bit, and find a way to properly like create some type of. You have to create a better system, because otherwise it's just a monster. But I appreciate Solana, and I think that we can. I have no problem releasing our token on them. But yeah,
No, absolutely. Which kind of brings me circling back to conversations that we've had in some of my spaces,
yeah,
and we come back to this question of what exactly is a meme token. And I know that might sound silly to some people, but I think the kind of meme token
yeah.
you're referring to is it's based on a meme, but there's nothing to it other than it's based on a meme. But now, with RWAs, not just trending, but I see RWAs as being something that continues, in not just in our culture, period.
Hmm.
Right? I noticed Tezos Pepe Dow, a portion of that revenue, goes to, you get an oil share for that. And we're gonna, in my view, start to see more RWAs connected to a lot of things and also connected to some of these meme tokens. Now, will there be meme tokens that don't have anything connected to it? Sure, but we're evolving in crypto, and I'm glad
Yeah.
because if I hear one more person say, we're I'll just be like, I don't want to hear it because that becomes an excuse
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
not push the culture forward. And Brayden here, he's pushing the culture forward, and that's a big reason why I.
I remember like my
That's why I wanted to talk to him. But and then the next thing I did
Well,
want
yeah,
to
yeah, sorry, can I comment on that? I mean, first of all, we are early.
stop.
And that's it. Okay, okay, bye. No, I mean, I was fortunate enough to come across some really great philosophy on this on Web3 and this whole movement back in 2017, and that's partly why I never looked back, because I saw that this is going to change everything, and that we will have the tokenization of everything. And so when you talk about RWA and real world assets, really what that means is that you're taking an item and you're basically tokenizing it and making it much more sort of tradable and liquid, like this receipt that you can kind of like, it's an immutable, way to sort of like transact, another way of doing that. And so it's kind of cool to have a lot validated with BlackRock and Larry Fink. Yeah, well, it's not about whether you like him or not, but we know how much BlackRock controls. If Larry Fink's the mouthpiece now that says the future is the tokenization of everything, I think we all should kind of really take stock in that and figure out, okay, what does that mean to me and my business and what I'm doing, and go from there.
The revolution will be tokenized.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
But that being said, when it comes to RWAs, I mean, one of the ways that we have advantages over doing it on blockchain is because we can integrate it with some more DeFi lending apps, in some of the exchanges, which can actually be more profitable than just doing it in a traditional manner, which I think is bullish. But when it comes to Soundromeda, what I'm interested in is how do you
How?
envision how
How?
I
What I really want to know is how. I'm kidding. Sorry. All right.
sorry.
Not
That's my
sorry.
job, to
Sorry. Not sorry.
say they're sorry.
Hmm.
For it. But my question is, how do you see Soundromeda? How do you envision it integrating that into your platform, maybe in the future? I mean, would it be part of your gamified music universe in some way? Did you have any platforms in mind with Solana, like such as, Refi Hub on Solana, that you had thought about incorporating, or is that something you're kind of still spinning around in your head right now?
Yeah, I mean, I really haven't thought about RWAs natively on Soundromeda, but I think eventually we're already working with too much that we have like built, and when you're trying to release something, especially a platform, especially one that's multi-sided like ours, it's a bit of a monster, and you can kind of just bloat what your offering is too much. And so we're already kind of dealing with that. But maybe eventually down the road, 5-10 years from now, when there's the RWA pipelines are much more streamlined, I think that there's a lot of RWA um, assets related to music. Everything from songs are technically RWA. Those are songs are physical, you know, things, and so are um, merch and other musical related sort of assets that you could mess around with that. But beyond that, I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure about that. What would you think? What do you
I
think?
was thinking, I mean, I'm not saying it's not an
Yeah,
asset and it's not fake. So that means it's real.
yeah,
But on the other hand, I was thinking more along the lines of tokenized real estate or tokenized uranium, which I mean, Solana is set to do that next,
yeah.
but Tezos has been doing that first with uranium.io or a number of things that have to do with green energy. But honestly, I think that you made a really good point about the fact that the pipeline for projects to be able to connect RWAs, it's just not there yet. That
Yeah.
doesn't mean it can't be, but what I'm impressed with is that even though we know there's not a clear path yet, the fact is you are forward thinking enough So you are thinking of that, but and you know better enough to know that the pipeline right now isn't quite there yet.
Yeah. I've always been future thinking, and it probably, for it's a blessing and a curse, but about 5, 10, 20 years in the future, I'm always thinking about. So it takes a lot of effort to really, sit here and be like, okay, that's cool and all, but what's A to B? Right?
100%, but it's important because sometimes people are like telling me like, oh, let's start with, 2 + 2 = 4, but then let's go straight to calculus. But I like where your brain is going
Yeah,
with this. It's forward thinking, but also knowing that there also needs to be like a clearer path. My next question
definitely.
for you.
Let's go. Mhm.
Okay, one of our favorite words, compliance. So, given the complexity of RWAs and their regulatory challenges, just how have you imagined, balancing gamification with compliance and transparency? And what role, right, might AI perhaps play in managing some of these assets on Soundromeda?
Just so I understand the question, it's about,
Is it too long? Should
well,
I?
it's about, so basically like managing safe gaming in a way that's like not predatory or
100%. I'm
okay.
so glad that you can read my mind.
Yeah. I mean, it's actually really it's a fairly debated issue that um occurs a lot within Web 2 gaming. It matters to me when you really start to think about how, let's say, your game will be shared with kids. You know what I mean? Because and if you think about gaming and a lot of the things when you're picking up loot boxes or things like that, there's elements of gambling, right?
Gambling?
Yeah, gambling. Well, and there's probability in at play, but if you think about it, that's all it's been a part of kids toys for a while. When you look at baseball cards, there's a probability if you get those inserts, and I was obsessed with baseball cards at 10 years old. So I was, in some ways, I was gambling cards, you know what I mean? And before that, Kinder Eye, when you look at the Kinder Eye eggs from Germany, when they're the chocolate eggs, you open it up and get the little toy inside. Those are loot boxes. And how old were you when you'd had those? 5, 6, 7, 8. So kids, and that level of probability, which is gambling, is has been around since forever. It's a fundamental of gaming, and it's a fundamental of life. Gambling is. So I think in general, it should be fostered smartly and safely and responsibly, because everyone needs to know how to manage their internal psychology and pathology when it comes to the triggers that gambling uh, can kind of set off, which can set you into a downward spiral and like, oh, I didn't have all the things, and but it should be taught. It should be safely ushered. It should be safely managed and be a core value of somebody in life, because in life you have to take calculated risks throughout it, and those that's in essence are gambling. And so just regulating your own personal psychology and emotions is all interconnected to that.
Wow. Okay, so gambling is a fundamental of life.
Absolutely,
And
100%.
we need to regulate our gambling. But if it's regulated gambling, I don't know. I kind of like to think of that as gaming, which is what your platform's all about.
Well, well, yeah, but it's our the platform is much more than that, right? So, but just in the terms of how you kind of approach some of these items that are based on probability,
100%.
but how you spend your time in life, your choice, the relationships you embark on, it's a gamble, you know,
It's a gamble.
it's a gamble, it's risky,
It's a
it's a
calculated
risk.
risk, a risky gamble, a regulated
Regulators.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I shouldn't say the word regulate so much. Some people might get triggered.
Yeah.
Talking about decentralization. But yeah, no, I mean that's interesting that you kind of mentioned that. But with gaming though, you chose gaming to help amplify artists.
Yes.
And as a primary part of the platform, you could have chosen something else, but you chose gaming
Yeah.
for a reason.
Yes.
Is it because you feel like this is a great way for people to start practicing regulated, uh, what is it?
Gambling. No, I'm kidding.
Regulated gambling.
No, no,
You
no.
chose gaming
Yeah.
for a reason.
Yes. I mean, because when you look at the when you look at how you experience music, it tends to be in two hemispheres. One in streaming passively. You put music on. You're in the car. You put music on. You're at the gym or whatever it is. Or you listen, or you go to a live show. You experience. You go to a festival. You go to a club and whatever it is. And people come together. They communalize over that music, and it becomes this like almost like sonic church. And to me, that's a very, very beautiful experience. But the problem about the two main hemispheres on how you experience music, neither support um, the artist economically. There's no realistic business model for over 99% of people who pursue music. And there's 15 million independent music artists out there. There's like maybe 10 to 15,000 of them that actually can live off their talent. And I'm not suggesting that all 15 million deserve to live off their talent, because let's be real, not all 15 million are probably that talented. But
And not all, and even if they are, they don't necessarily have the discipline
that
or
too,
the business sense.
that too. But the ones that are pursuing their craft like I was, and the ones that I know that hustle really hard, but still don't find the right. I think there's also a really big problem that even a lot of industry like experts that like saying, "Oh yeah, you gotta do social media. If you're not doing social media, you're not playing the game. That's the game." I believe that there's new ways to play the game, and it literally is through gaming. And there's just no there is just isn't what I realized, that there isn't anything fundamentally through gaming that showcases music. And so that's what Soundromeda really is. It really explores the relationship of music and gaming. You've always had music as a supporting aesthetic to the gaming experience, soundtrack, and how you go about the world, and it gets more intense. The music kind of gets more intense, and you've had music as rhythm-based gameplay. Like Guitar Hero, Dance Dance Revolution, which actually performed really, really well.
It's fun. You're bringing me back.
Not at all. You go. But those are niche genres, and not everybody's really rhythmically inclined. So it's actually a really, really small percentage of people that play those. But my whole thing is, well, there's a lot of things that I've liked over the years in gaming. Why not do something really, interesting and different with it? And so 3.5 years later, we have something I think quite interesting and different for music through gaming.
I can't wait until it comes live on Mac computers because I have a Mac.
I know, me too.
Wait, when we
Sound
I
drum.
mean,
Da.
so sorry. I love having you on here. This is so fun. You bringing up something else that I was curious about, like what are some of the maybe biggest technical or user experience challenges that you anticipate when integrating such protocols, and how might they influence the roadmap with all this gaming and all the NFTs combined
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
tokens?
Is it tokens? Alle tocan? Le tocchiana. So
American guy.
de protecare.
You're not American now?
Yeah, no, apparently. No, I am. I am American. Born and raised in St. Louis, Missouri. Mom's Croatian, dad's India. So I have a lot of like European, Asian, background. But anyway, so protocols, I think it can get very messy really quickly. And so we've been taking a lot of care with how we properly put our stuff on chain, which you know you've been helping me. You've been actually really instrumental with. Yeah, 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 yeah. Haha, but you've been really helpful with how how Soundromeda could be multi-chain. And I don't want to say too much about it, but basically we found a really cool pathway on being multi-chain in a way that makes sense and supports artists and perhaps their pre their pre-existing deals. Um, but long story short, it is complicated. But is everything okay? What does that mean?
Everything's
Okay.
Go
Just got some weird little screen here. But you know, we kind of just really explore. It has to make sense. It's got to be really clear. Whatever. If it doesn't, it has to make sense in the back end because ultimately, what we want to do is make sure everything is. Well, let me put it this way. It can be as complicated as it needs to be on the back end, but all that matters is how simple it is for the user to experience in the front end. Boom.
Boom. Wow. Okay.
You can take that to the bank.
We're getting somewhere.
Yeah.
One of the founders that I look up to, you and I introduced you
Yep.
to David, who's a co-founder of Ika. And one of the things that he said in our little surprise AMA a week ago, do you remember what it was regarding to like the user experience?
Not specifically,
He
but
specifically said that, he thinks that Web3 is going to be successful once it gets boring.
oh yeah, no, totally,
You
yeah.
meant it in like a user-friendly kind of way.
Well,
So it's funny you bring that up.
yeah, I also think it also means that Web3 needs to like take a back seat. I think the biggest problem is that for the most recent like bull runs, blockchains are like, trying to be the cool kid and the rock star, and I'm like, you're just a blockchain. You're just some B2B infrastructure that nobody really should even know about or care about, and it's really the applications and the things that are built on you that really what are really what matters. It's such a nerdy thing to really care about blockchains.
It's nerdy. Well, it is now, but it shouldn't be.
Well, I mean, but it's kind of like, what do you want, like 4G or 3G or Verizon or Sprint? It's like, nah, no, just like let's make a phone call and let the towers. So I think the boring part is like have the back end stuff all kind of do its thing, and it's like a transaction. I'd be able to call you, Sprint, Verizon, T-Mobile, so, whatever, and it doesn't really matter. Just give me your number. Let's make a phone call.
I feel that.
You know?
No, I mean, I definitely think that's what he was referring to 100%.
Yeah.
And because it should be that easy just for you to be able to do that stuff. It should be in the back end.
Yeah.
It should be for the users to be thinking about. And when they go to play your game, they should just be able to play the game. It's not like, oh God, what's going on?
Yeah.
Again?
Yeah. I mean, iPhones are incredibly complex, but you can have a 2-year-old play it and a 90-year-old play it. And I think that's when out and half the world has like less than a fifth grade education. We have to really approach at it from a consumer point of view. How do you make it really simple, easy?
Yeah.
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 Which brings me to my next question. Which
Ooh.
is how do you measure, success in balancing the gameplay with music focus, ensuring that the music remains the heart of the experience because that was like your goal was to help bring artists more to the forefront of this
Yes.
experience. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it can be kind of like a push and pull kind of thing when you're in the when you're trying to communicate the vision to the team and as they're building it, and some of them might have a bit more of a game design background and maybe not so much on the music side, and so it does take a little bit of just like guiding the focus a bit, like, hey, remember why we're here is like we're showcasing song as a world. It's the ultimate experience. The artist gets to decide how this ends up being. So it's just really in the creative direction and the way in which we kind of like consistently communicate. I communicate that to the team, make sure that, hey, like, this is a song world. Like, we need to have amazing gameplay, and that's been a huge part of our development and focus because I believe that's what is going to carry it. Awesome, fun gameplay all day long. But at the end of the day, it's got to represent the song itself, song as a world, what that looks like, what that feels like, the audio reactivity a part of it in a very natural, fun, exciting way. It's like it's a balance. Yeah, it's a balancing act.
No, 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 no. Let's get into something that
Yeah.
we were going to talk about a little bit ago, the dynamic NFTs versus the static NFTs, right? So, dynamic NFTs, to my understanding, are something that's central to the vision of Soundromeda. I mean, so in this way, right? So we talked a little bit about how you guys have your own music NFTs, and you and we had been speaking for some time about how you were thinking about using Sui's dynamic NFTs in particular, possibly Walrus's protocol storage because it's what 1/10 of the costs of AWS, and Ika's
Nice.
bridgeless interoperability to evolve these assets because of being able to go cross chain completely bridgeless, right? So I guess this is kind of like what I'm picturing, right? So for example, like could a battle guitar NFT level up to its rift based player wins with Walrus storing the audio stems and maybe Ika enabling it to interact with your partners that you already have, like Rarible,
Hmm.
or you have Audius on Solana, because they have that their special token, audio token. I mean, have you thought about any of this? This is just my
Yeah.
imagination
Yeah.
going wild, and I know you have.
Yeah.
Just asking
I mean,
rhetorically.
sounds cool. Uh, excuse me.
It's all right.
No, I just want to work with Walrus because I like the name. I'm just kidding.
Just doing it for the free market.
Just the Walrus. Sounds cool. Um, I think that I mean, to me, it's a competitor to IPFS, and I think there's a lot of opportunity with dynamic NFTs. The best way I think I even understand dynamic NFTs is that they're NFTs that are they're not necessarily static. You can update them. They can
Yes.
change,
Yes.
and that's what's really exciting because, you know, it can become this collaborative thing that you can kind of have in your platform that somebody can edit it or you can edit it and it's alive in a lot of ways. And so we have a version of that I think is going to be so cool because it involves both um, music lovers who love to discover music, um, collecting dynamic NFTs, and that being a collaborative thing between them and the artist. I can't say too much more about that, but
That sounds like a game in itself.
it's
What's even
really
a game?
yeah, it's like a little Russian doll, but it's it's going to be really exciting because I think that's the exciting part of a dynamic NFT is that it can be this collaborative sort of you know um, collectible that is kind of changing, and it's almost like that representation between you and the artist. You know,
Yeah.
yeah,
No, I like that. But I
yeah.
mean, Sui in particular, I mean, the security is really pretty amazing on those as compared to, other blockchains, which is kind of cool. And I mean, just the abilities for all the customizability is pretty, impressive to me. I mean, there's a game that I've been looking at called Cosmocadia. They can customize the clothes. And across an entire ecosystem, they can, use the one NFT if they wanted to. I mean, so it could be different games, but it just feels
You
like there's
could be
so
the
many
one. You could be the one.
it
Okay.
just feels like there's so many
Yeah.
possibilities. And I hadn't even thought about like this whole I don't think anybody thus far, knock on wood,
Thus far.
is doing the whole collaborative
Yeah.
NFTs that you talked about. I think that's gonna be I think you just did you just come up with a new term today? It's dynamic,
Yeah.
but collaborative dynamic NFTs? They can't say too much.
CD NFT. CD.
CD
I'm
NFT?
just kidding. Like CDs, whatever.
Okay, Brayden. You say CDs, you're really aging.
No, no. Apparently, CDs are making a comeback.
Oh, good.
I know. I'm
No,
serious.
they are.
Don't call it a comeback. Because they can fit more data on CDs now, and yeah.
But they still get scratched.
Oh,
Did I say scratched? I meant to say scratched, but if they're coming back, I'm interested to see how they're coming back better because I remember like after playing a CD so many times, it was like ruined.
No, I agree. I agree that they have to fix that. They must be completely unscratchable, or I will never use them again. That was the biggest downfall. I believe that's what actually destroyed the music industry. Is you had these stupid CDs that got you spent like $20 on them, and they got all scratched up, and then and then you had to buy a new one. It's bullshit. It's like fuck that. Why would I buy that when I can just get it for free?
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, the you recognizing that the digital revolution changed everything.
Well, yeah, it was inevitable too. Yeah.
I mean, not saying that generally speaking, artists were necessarily always, shall we say, generally amazing business people, because I think we know that's generally not.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd like to envision a future where we see more artists taking control of their business, as it were, not just like 5 or 10 people, but I'd like to just see more of that. And something like being a part of Soundromeda feels like a great way for somebody to have that as part of what they're doing, because you know how you said earlier, and Larry Fink has said this, and it is true that everything will be tokenized, because it will. I think everything's going to be gamified too. So I think you were really onto something when you were like, how can I gamify the process of discovery, and reward people for the
Yeah.
process of discovery and have it benefit the artist. Like,
Yeah, yeah. Game gamification and games are everything's sort of like a fractal over everything else. It's just kind of a fundamental of how life is constructed. When you look at to me life, life is played like a game. You're kind of like dropped into a world. You're wiped with your any previous knowledge. You're like a little baby. You're like helpless, and then it's like a little Mario, right? And then over time you gather wisdom and strength, and you kind of level up. You level up, and you kind of eventually maybe beat the game. You just have to decide what the game is for you. As philosophically, I mean, we can go there, but essentially,
let's
it's.
go there.
I mean, it's just the game. There are universalities to how the game should be played, but I think everybody's on here for their own mission.
Yeah,
But there are sort of you can kind of lose sight of what the purpose is and what the I've almost feel like there's like 2 layers to the mission. It's like you know choose your sort of like action, so to speak,
mhm,
but the way in which you go about completing that action, that's actually what how you win the game.
beautiful. But you said something earlier I kind of wanted to circle back to, like picking your action.
Yeah.
Like, you always have the choice in life to pick your action,
Yeah.
which is beautiful,
Yeah.
and it's empowering, but it also involves, personal responsibility and accountability. But you said something earlier that it was so important. You said choose your game, right?
Yeah.
Because there's so many games, not just in, gaming ecosystems, but life, right? Because gaming should be
Yeah.
training and a metaphor for life. You got to choose which games you want to play. It's
Yeah.
not just different
Exactly.
interactions,
That
but
too.
it's like, what games do you really want to be involved in?
And everybody's got their own thing. Everybody's got their own baggage. Like even if you're like a Prince William or whatever it is, Harry, like you might be born into royalty, but like they have a lot of dysfunctional situations going on. And so like, it's like kind of like get over the situation, figure it out and get and just like play and pick your game and how you go about doing that is is how you win the game.
How you level up.
Yeah, how you level up. Yeah.
Like, see, here's the thing. For some people, the term playing games, right, often has a negative connotation in society, because it's like, oh, he's just playing games. Like, as in, like, oh, that's immature, it's a waste of time. Or I also hear it, being used in contexts where people are referring to the games that people play when they're not being honest
Yeah.
with one another. But that's a dishonesty game.
Yeah.
And it's a game that I'm not interested in playing. Not to say that I've never told a white lie, because we all have, and people who say they haven't, well, they're lying too.
Yeah.
And that's fine, but like it's about just saying where you want to be involved. But I would also venture to say that saying I am not going to play any games is also a conscious choice. And it's not a choice that's going to lead to you winning anywhere. Because what happens if you don't play any games? If you don't choose any games in life, well, what does that equate to?
Well, I mean, to quote the late DMX, this is not a fucking game. Guys, we need to bleep that out. No, this is not a fucking game. Anyway, so DMX didn't play any games.
You're not trolling.
You're definitely trolling for sure, yeah.
But I
But
mean, it's just because I thought about it in another aspect, right? Because in all the games, right, and in life too, you have assets. So if you're not choosing to play, what are you doing? You're just giving your assets away to other players for free.
I
You're
mean,
just staying logged out while other people steal your
you
assets.
got to lock in and you got to play the game, man. You got to figure out what game was you're going to play and you got to play it. You just can't get lost in the sauce. You got to like, you know, you got to keep going.
Well, I mean, because if life is a game and you're not playing, then you're just not living. And with Soundromeda, musicians and people all over the world have a chance to truly play something new. Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Right? I mean,
Yeah.
wrong in that. But
No.
it's super exciting. With what you're going to be doing with these dynamic NFTs. I did want to just kind of touch briefly on one more thing. We've spoken briefly about Ika, and you know, and in other spaces too. The whole thing with cross chain and how it relates to user experience. Like, what about that kind of, is inspirational to you to be able to use bridgeless technology?
Yeah. I mean, it's transacting across chains has been one of the biggest thorns in all of Web3's spine, and nothing has remotely been user friendly whatsoever. Even, a decade into the industry evolving, you still have to, fiddle between chains on wallets, and you got to like bridge things. The whole thing is just completely absurd. For when you think about how to get beyond 10% adoption rate when it comes to all humans, how do you get people to, everybody uses money, you got to buy stuff. So therefore, if Web3's focus is on evolving how money, then like this needs to be really 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 user friendly. And and bridges aren't the solution because they're incredibly obtuse in their function on the user experience, and two, they're incredibly insecure. Like they get hacked left and right, billions of dollars lost. None of it really makes any sense. So it seems like Ika has a new evolution on how to bridge between chains automatically, which is exactly the kind of thing that needs to happen. Like we talked about, like if I'm on Sprint and you're on Verizon, we should be able to make a phone call.
100%.
1, 2, 3.
That's the
Nobody
best
needs to.
analogy.
I don't need to fiddle between stuff. I just make it, and so that's what the ICA says they can do, which is really really compelling.
I mean, you can test it out.
Yeah. Oh, I
By
will.
all means,
Oh,
just
I will.
but then again, like think about it, like what they're doing is changing the game,
Yeah.
changing the game of accessibility. So what that's going to allow for you is for more users worldwide to be able to access your game. And it's interesting that we always bring it kind of back to like phone providers, because it's just like it shouldn't matter. Like I want to be able to play Soundromeda whether I have Verizon, whether I have AT&T, whether I
Yeah.
have Mint Mobile or Helium Mobile, which is more crypto native. But I should get to play Soundromeda. And for somebody to, change the game so it actually invites more users to play, like I feel like everybody should be shouting Soundromeda,
Yeah.
from the rooftops. So that makes me happy. Is there anything else that you would like, you know, people to know today, to look out for? Anything people can get excited about in the near future, or just should we get
Yes.
excited about indie.fun, your token raise?
I would definitely follow us everywhere you like to, pay attention, because we will be dropping a lot of interesting things. We got something on Telegram we're launching. We have something that involves one of the most iconic memes out there, an IP I can't say anything about it. Can't say. But we're gonna have an announcement. We're gonna have an official announcement in May, the end of May. I can't say. You're gonna have to wait till May. um,
Can you at least give the listeners today a hint? Yeah. Okay.
you dog, you. So yeah, basically we have a lot of incredible things that we have been working on and perfecting and getting right, to a degree of perfection. Nothing's perfect. We're not trying to aim for that. We're just trying to aim for something really cool. But we're gonna start dropping stuff really soon. So just stay tuned and get involved.
Amazing. Well, with that being said, Soundromeda is not only going to capture planet Earth, Soundromeda is going to capture the moon, right? And we're leaving a lot of hints about your collaboration here coming up, So, and you actually even have music on the moon already.
Yeah.
Am I not right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you want to mention anything about that before we have another little surprise for you?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I I have a song on the moon. What can I say? So interesting thing.
Like it's nothing.
No big deal. Yeah, no, of course. Yeah. So the crazy thing is that in early 2022, I lose all my music, all my recorded music in a rainstorm. My laptop, my external hard drive, big leak came to the roof and destroyed everything. And I was pretty obviously devastated. But to me, it was the universe saying, "Hey, just don't even worry about your music. Just focus on this thing right here, right now. Soundromeda. Keep on, you know, figuring it out." And I did. A year later, I meet another founder doing his thing, and he says, "Hey, I got art going to the moon." I was like, "That's cool."
Yeah.
Like there's this humanity time capsule that's sending all the knowledge of Wikipedia, major artists like Picasso and Elvis and everything like that, and he was the design studio for the whole mission. And I was like, dude, I have this song called "Capture the Moon" I wrote in 2011. Just use it in your promos. And he listened to it. And he's like, yo, this is actually really cool. Why don't we make a custom version of the song and get it on the moon? And I was like, okay.
Okay.
And then after that weekend, before you know it, my song's going to the moon. So now technically, I'm officially the first EDM artist to have an electronic dance song on the moon. Yeah, yeah. Capture the moon. Yeah, yeah,
Alright.
yeah. There you
Did you want to, get your guitar?
go. Okay, yeah. I guess this is our jam. This is exciting. Yeah,
It's our moon.
it's our moon. It's our moon. I can tell you. The concept of capture the moon is like the meaning of it is like kind of carpe noctem. It's like, instead of seize the day, it's kind of like seize the night.
Well, that's nice too. That
Yeah.
has a lot of implications there. So do follow also Brayden Pierce on not just with Soundromeda, but follow him on YouTube. You can find all of this music there as well, and also follow everything that he's doing today because he's got some amazing surprises for you. Let's go.
Let's go. All right. Okay. Ready?
Am I supposed to be ready?
You can turn around. You can be me in the moment. She's lying on the floor. I believe our thoughts devour like the sun illuminate the sky. Isn't it alive? All these years tell the truth. How many people does it take to party like we do? Oh, oh, she want us in outer space. In outer space. I told you. Capture the moon before you hit the ground. Capture the moon before you hit the ground. 'Cause we rise and we fall down. And that's all. And that's all. Ooh, ooh, yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Retta Lark. And again, it's BraydenPierce of Soundromeda. Have a beautiful rest of your day. We'll see you next time on the Retta Lark Pulse. Bye.
Bye. Cheers.